spaces create the container for healing. They don't do the healing work, obviously. The healing work comes from inside of us, but it allows for the healing to happen by creating safe spaces that feel safe.
I'm Patrice Washington, and this is the Redefining Wealth podcast, where authenticity leads to alignment and abundance. Join us each week as we peel back the layers on what wealth truly means and dive into conversations that inspire, connect, and empower you to live your richest life. Get ready to challenge the status quo. It's time to redefine wealth for yourself. You're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington. Of course, this is where you come each and every week to learn more about what it means to chase purpose, not money. And one of the 6 pillars of wealth that we are founded on here is the space pillar. It's about setting up your life to support you. And this month, we are talking about making the space to heal. And it is so imperative that when you think about your life in any area where you may feel stuck or not motivated, or just like you're not giving yourself the space or the permission to dream again, it may really be an indication that that physical space needs your attention. And so I invited my girl, Nikki Klugh. We've been friends for over a decade now, to really just support us as we make the space to heal in our lives this month. I'm going to read you Nikki's bio, and then the next voice you hear after the affirmation will be that of the one and only Nikki Klugh. Nikki Klugh is a highly sought after interior designer who is beloved by her hundreds of clients nationwide. She's the principal designer and owner of Nikki Klugh Design Group, Inc., and she's an award-winning interior designer whose design expertise and magnetic personality has led her to appear on BET, NBC, and now on her own show, On the Move with Nikki Klugh. This show features 6 clients at various life stages and design needs spanning the country, and it even includes Nikki's own home renovation journey. This series candidly shares the triumphs and challenges of home design while showcasing beautiful and luxurious residences in diverse styles. You're going to love this conversation with Nikki as she talks about really our space being the container for our healing. If you are someone who has had a hard time dreaming a new dream, this episode is for you. If you're someone who has felt stuck, especially in your career, in your business, when we talk about money spaces, this episode is definitely for you. And if you need to heal your relationship with even your body, your weight, where you are as a woman, maybe of a certain age, like both of us, who's just learning to embrace a new version of you, this episode is for you. So again, after the affirmation, the next thing you'll hear is my conversation with Nikki Klugh. This week's affirmation is, I believe that my space is a sacred container for my healing work, holding and nurturing the energy that I need to transform and grow in this season. Within this space, I find safety and support, and it allows me to dive deeply into my healing journey. I consciously curate my environment to reflect calm, clarity, and purpose, creating a powerful foundation for my personal evolution. My space resonates with the intention of healing, amplifying the work that I do to restore my mind, body, and spirit. As I honor this container, I recognize it as a vital part of my ability to dream, heal, and create the life that I desire and deserve. Declare with me today, my space is a container for my healing. Welcome to Redefining Wealth, Nikki.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I'm really excited for today's talk.
If you guys understood what Nikki and I have been through to try to get these interviews together, me on her podcast and her on this podcast, my goodness, I think this is how you know when a conversation is going to create healing, because there's that resistance. You know, we had weather challenges, we had connection challenges, mic, camera. We're like, now, wait a minute. This is ridiculous.
Good coming down.
It must be something good. Yes. So you guys, I have known Nikki I don't know if you realize this, Nikki, it's been about a decade.
At
I
least.
have known you for over 10 years. Nikki and I had the pleasure of meeting in another transformational coaching program over a decade ago. And then we became travel buddies.
Yes.
We were a part of a group of women who were traveling all over the world. We got to stalk Beyonce and Jay-Z in Nice, France one year.
Phenomenal.
Wasn't that so fun?
It was the best.
Barbados and Belize and oh my goodness, it's just been such an incredible journey. And most recently, I've had the opportunity to see you live a dream, which is your show that you debuted on YouTube. But oh my gosh, do I see it on HGTV or some huge network? On the Move with Nikki Klugh.
Yes.
Nikki, tell us about, a lot of my audience is in the season of dreaming a new dream.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the last few years, this has been coming up where we've just been talking about making space for our dreams and possibly healing some of the things from our past so that we can move forward and do the new thing. What was it like creating this show and how long had that been a dream?
Yeah. So this had been a dream since the beginning. Well, let me say that I've always had the gift of interior design. And it was about 20 years ago that I said, you know what? I'm going to make this my profession. Like I'm going to be serious about it, go back to school. And I don't care if I never make a dime. This is just what I love to do and how I know I can serve people outside of my four littles at the time, my four sons. And so that was how I started. And it was really encouraged by seeing talent on HGTV. It was the emergence of HGTV and paired at the same time with me buying my own first home and decorating it. I was like, you know what? I'm really good at this. And I see that people do this for real, like in real life. I want to do this too. And so it was Divine Design with Candace Olson. Do you remember that show? I don't know if you ever watched that show, but she did high-end design out of Canada. And she was so quirky. And I'm like, I could be that, like that's who I am, like this tomboy, tall girl, but dresses up nice, and creates beautiful things, but just like such a goofball. And so I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it. Right. And so I imagined myself then being an interior designer, but maybe one day hosting my own show. Well, turns out that HGTV has kind of changed. They don't do as much of that high-end design anymore. So we don't know if HGTV is going to be the right fit, but that was the original inspiration. And I'm really, really excited to come back to it. And that was a process and it involved healing. It absolutely involved healing because I don't know if you're like this, but anytime I break a promise to myself, it's like one more chink, like one more disappointment that I brought on to myself. And so then you just kind of, at least I did, just kind of stop dreaming like, maybe that's just too much. Maybe I can't handle that with what's going on in my life, my sons, my husband's career, us moving all the time. Like I just kind of let it go. I just said, okay, that's not for me. But it was through COVID and through serving that I was able to come back to it and allow myself to dream again without knowing how, just knowing that if this is something that God gave me, it's something he's going to provide for. So let me just do what I'm supposed to do, my next right step, keep my promises to myself. If I say I'm going to do something, figure out how to do that for myself and with myself. And then my confidence started building again. I don't know if anyone else has to go through that, but
oh, yes.
We sometimes give up on ourselves because we've let ourselves down for whatever reason, for life choices. Sometimes we don't have really great options. We have to choose what's in front of us. But it was in forgiving myself and allowing myself to dream again that we are here now.
Wow. So good, friend. And it is, literally, when the show was coming out, when you were doing the premiere, I posted it in the Redefining Wealth app. And we had quite a few purpose chasers who did join for that. And the messages that I got about just how amazing it is. I always talk to the audience about sloppy progress and just obedience requires you to just take the next best step. when you have such a grand vision, and some of us dream big and in full color, and I know that you are a big dreamer, right?
I just can't help it. I don't know where that comes from. I'm going all the way. It's all or nothing, baby.
But I'm like looking at this show, and I'm like, okay, did I miss a 1.0 version? Because I feel like Friend just went to 10.0. You had the red carpet premiere. You had I know you enlisted other folks that and just had this incredible first offering of this.
Right.
How did you go from putting this dream on the back burner to accelerating it to such amazing quality? And I want to say so quickly, but I'm sure it wasn't quick because it followed a period of time.
It was to a degree, and some parts of it was baby steps. So let me talk about the parts that were baby steps. It was doing Facebook Live on Mondays. Every Monday when no one was watching but my mama. That goes back 7-8 years. Like I've been resharing some of those as they come up in my timeline. Like this didn't just happen. There was some practice that was involved, but I didn't know what the practice was for. I was just doing, okay, I need to be consistent on Facebook Live. Let's do Makeover Mondays. And so every Monday I'd go on and I'd try to time it with client work and take people out to see what I was doing. Or if didn't have any projects to go see, I would pull up design concepts and show people pictures and talk about design ideas and the reasoning why I'm doing some things. And so I got comfortable in front of the camera. Okay. Then there was the Home Depot commercial. I don't know if you remember that, but it was during Black Girls Rock. Home Depot was sponsoring BET Awards for that. And I did a Home Depot commercial, 30-second commercial, but it was an all-day shoot. It was multiple takes. I'm like, I did that line right. No, do it again. Okay. So giving the producers lots of ways and inflections in your voice, I can see now how that plays into making this show. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of baby steps, but what really turned the corner, was that linchpin was bringing in the experts, like investing in myself. So paying someone $2,500 a day to shoot, that's something I had never even considered. The cost was the limiting factor, but saying, you know what, I'm worth it. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to invest in this dream. We're going to bring in experts. And that's what we did. So the videographer, the editors, they're all top notch. Some of them have actually earned Emmys in Hollywood, and so that's where that quality comes from. It's not me. I don't have the expertise to string all these, scenes together and make sure the storyline is tight and people can track and there's a payoff in the end. Like all of these things I'm learning as I go, listening to them, but trusting and relying on them, casting the vision, and then having the experts come and help me bring it to life.
That's so good. Nikki, you said something really powerful that I want to tie together, because I can see how someone would second guess investing in themselves if in the past they have betrayed themselves by not following through.
Right.
So what conversation did you have to have with yourself, with God, with your spouse to make such an investment and trust that this time was the time?
It was a matter of forgiving myself, saying, okay, in that season, you gave all you had. You wanted to give more. You wanted to do more, but your focus was your kids. Your focus was their health and well-being and exposure and growth. And these dreams, these ambitions, you chose to put them on the back burner. You thought you could do both, but the family always won. And that's fine. That's what you wanted. That's why I actually part of why I decided that this career was for me, because I could do it around the kids' ball schedules and practices and teacher conferences and volunteering. And I did that, and I did it well then. But the growth in the business, the growth in exposure, and now this TV show, that takes so much more time that I did not have it in that period of my life. And so just releasing the expectations I had placed on myself to be able to do it all, right? And say, okay, now what's realistic? What's a push? What's the pacing? What's sustainable? and it's timing. So during COVID, okay, I know we hate to talk about that traumatic period of our lives, but it has had it's been a catalyst to so many different things. At least for me, it has. People started caring about their homes.
Yeah.
The phone started ringing and we were busting it. Like we were so busy traveling all over the country, which I had been already doing, but it increased. And really serving, helping people with their money spaces because everybody was working from home and had home offices. And it's like, what's going on? Why can't I focus? Why can't I concentrate? What do I need to bring into my space to help support me be productive? And I was teaching people that gave me more exposure and the phones just kept ringing. So we said, yes, I staffed up. Like I went from 4 team members to 14 team members throughout the course of COVID. Right. We had to have a dedicated order expediter. We had to have a dedicated concierge, not had to have, but to serve in the level that I wanted to serve. Right. So we built out our team and we were able to serve a ton of people through COVID. It was in that we had the content. It was like, ooh, look at all these installs. We have 8 different installs that's happening over the course of 9 weeks. And that's when our mutual friend, TJ Mercer, who has worked in Hollywood, I referenced her before, said, Nikki, this is a show. Right? And so it's like, oh, it is. How do I do that? And so it's like, first, let's get someone talented to film it. Okay, that's Marcel. Okay. And it was just a continual build out of that team. So forgiving myself, investing in myself, that bridge was the consistency, serving at a high level, learning how to bring in team to support my efforts and releasing the thought that I could do it all. That was part of my hang up before, right? Like trying to do it all myself, and failing. And so, showing myself, okay, this is how it's done. This is how it's sustainable. Figuring out the pricing, like how do you pay for this huge staff? Okay, what do we need to charge? Where can we get skinny? What's unnecessary? What has the biggest impact? I feel like our client concierge had a really big impact because she could set people up and where they're ready for me to serve greatly in a 2-hour time span. Then they say yes, right? So I had one instance where someone came to the consultation unprepared. They didn't do their homework. We spent 2 hours doing their homework. They got no value. Well, why did that happen? Because I didn't have time to make sure they were prepped. I just got on the call assuming they did their work. Well, adding in that client concierge helped set them up and set me up for success. So it was a lot of different smaller pieces that made the whole so that I could see, oh, yes, this feels right. I'm ready.
I love that. I love when we can walk back through the years and see how God had perfectly positioned different opportunities. And not just the opportunities that came to us, but the ones we created, like you doing the Facebook Lives. I feel the same way when I look back sometimes at Facebook memories. I will share things and be like, y'all, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I surprise myself sometimes.
Right.
I'm like, I was coaching y'all when nobody was paying attention. I have been saying the same things. I've been talking about sloppy progress since 2012.
Yes.
It's not new, but I often say to my clients in the program I used to have, Purpose to Platform, and you actually did a bonus session about money spaces during the pandemic. I was trying to remember, what was it? You did.
I did. Uh-huh.
Yep. You did a session for us about money spaces back then that I definitely want to get to. But in Purpose to Platform, I used to always just talk about that it's about building our voice. It's about building our muscle. And we have to be willing to say the things until people believe it. I used to tell people, Steve Harvey didn't crown me America's Money Maven. I crowned myself, and I said it enough to where he starts saying it.
Right, right.
And that's the thing with all of this. It's how far are you willing to go, even when nobody else is listening but your mama? Because even in that process, you are still growing. You are still learning your own voice. You are still practicing. And there are still people watching who have the power to bless you, even if they don't say anything yet. They are looking at you create the consistency. They are still inspired. They are still learning and growing from you. But sometimes we are so committed to the idea that we have to have all the followers, all the numbers, all the views, or we're not going to continue. And that makes you go, well, is this really what God put on your heart? Or you just saying that? Because I feel like the thing that is really on our heart, we can't even shake it. It's very hard to shake it. Even if you put it on the back burner, it's still little bits and pieces of it that will come out because it's just in you.
Mm-hmm. It's our calling. It's how we're made to serve. So with it being part of our DNA, we can't escape it. We can delay it. We can put it off. We can make it small, but it's still going to be a tug and a yearning, I think, just deep in our souls that will not release us because we're not doing what we're meant to be doing.
Yeah. I like that you also talked about just kind of going back and healing that relationship with younger Nikki and saying like you focused on what you had the capacity for. You focused on what you valued in that season, which was raising those 4 boys. And that's a whole nother story. Friend, I always tell you, I had the one girl child and I don't understand people. Look, I couldn't even get it out. That's how it messes me up. I'm like, 4 children, 4 boys?
Yes.
Girl, no. But you focused on what you focused on. And I feel like even in this season, as I've been healing the gratitude and grief of releasing a marriage that was not for me anymore and all those things, I didn't offer Purpose the platform. I didn't offer Command the Stage. I wasn't doing the things that I had historically become known for. I wasn't on all the shows. I wasn't doing all the media. I didn't have the capacity to speak on every stage. I was just focused on supporting good girlfriends who invited me to speak at their events. And looking back at that is also like, yeah, I did what I needed to do to heal. Like I maintained a level of presence, but didn't force myself to be present at everything, in everything, for everyone, so that I could create the space to heal. And I love that you talked about that because I think so often we consider giving ourselves space us failing or us not doing the thing, us not living up to our potential. We get so hard on ourselves and we hear give yourself grace. But in the moment, sometimes it feels very hard to do when you know what you were created to do and you know what your vision is. It seems like crazy to take a step back or to put things on the back burner.
It is hard. It's really, really hard because we're ambitious women. We have big goals and big visions of what our life is supposed to be. But when I think about some Bible characters, I'm like, this is God's MO. Why don't we get it through our heads that this is how he operates, right? I think going forward, and even in this moment, in the middle of just tiptoeing, and tapping on some network doors, wanting to do it the right way and putting this pressure on myself that I have one shot because networks, take a look at you and they pass, they never come back to you is what I've heard. But just releasing all that, it's like God, it's in God's timing. It's in God's timing. He's already set it up. It's already done, right? And so I think about Noah and the ark. How long did he build that dang ark, right? How many years was he taunted by his friends and family? Did he start doubting, right? I mean, we just have to know that trust the process. We hear that part too. Trust the process. Give yourself grace. As long as we're doing something consistently, whether it's day by day, week by week, month by month, that is getting us closer to our intended purpose and sharpening our skills, honing in on our messaging, taking note of the world, of people, of personalities. All of that comes into play. Leadership, being a mother to 4 sons, absolutely, makes me more careful and considerate in the way I lead people when they look up to you, right? To keep people whole and intact and still require or support them being excellent. It's so layered. It's so many things. But one of the things about giving yourself grace is trusting God, knowing it's his plan and seeing the pattern, seeing how he operates. No one steps onto the stage just bam, unprepared. out of nowhere. It's taken preparation to get there. Even Jesus had to be prepared. Now think of that. He didn't come out. He as soon as he was talking, he wasn't preaching. Maybe he was, but not to the masses. So just trusting God and allowing ourselves to go through his process, and all of it perfect timing will come together.
Can I be honest with you? I really don't believe anything changes in those pillars until you are willing to take radical action. And sometimes that means you have to get out of the comfort zone that is your house right now. I want to invite you to Redefining Wealth Live. Take radical action and come and join me live in person, October 6th through 8th, because this is going to be a transformative experience like no other. This is not a business conference, so we're not loading this with all the how-tos and to-dos and just strategy. This is about your soul. Redefining Wealth Live is a vibrant gathering of spirit-led, like-hearted purpose chasers who come together to awaken, redefine, and actualize wealth in every area of their lives. The goal is to move you from autopilot to authenticity. So I want you to picture yourself leaving, not just inspired, but transformed. In our deeply connected community, we go beyond talking. We collaborate, we apply actionable insights, we work on our scripts, we get in our wisdom circles and really talk about our individual next steps. This is an unparalleled connection. There is clarity and confidence in that room that you want to apply to your life. You need this in order to bring your vision to life. So this is the room you want to be in, October 6th through 8th. I want to invite you to go to redefiningwealthlive.com right now to secure your spot. That's redefiningwealthlive.com right now. And when you do, you'll have access to our next bonus co-created connection call where you can learn from me well before the event and also start to connect with other attendees. You don't want to miss this. redefiningwealthlive.com. We talked about money spaces for a quick moment. And I remember this was one of the things that really endeared me to you when I first met you back in, I want to say it was 2014 when we first met. It was early 2014. So definitely over 10 years now. And we were talking about money spaces back then. I had a course called, I think it was called Mindset and Money Masterclass or Money and Mindset Masterclass or something like that. I didn't have a concept yet of the 6 pillars of wealth. I hadn't named it anything. I was just talking about stuff. And so that space part was always in there. And I loved when I first heard you talk about money spaces, because the story that I often tell there, Nikki, is I remember the moment when I was at my desk in this room where everything went to go to hell. It was like that catch-all room. So it was supposed to kind of be my office, but it also had the ironing board up. It also had laundry on the bed. It also had Amazon packages. It was like, this is where all things go to hell. But this is also where I was supposed to be writing my first book in 2012, late 2011, early 2012. And I remember the moment that still small voice said, is this the space that you think a best-selling author, a multiple 6-figure earner at the time, is this the space that you see for them? And I said, oh, you didn't have to embarrass me like that. It was like an instant check in my spirit. And I started cleaning everything up, removing things, reorganizing that space and all this stuff. And all of a sudden it was like the book could flow. Like things were just flowing out of me. And while I did also enjoy going to Starbucks to write sometimes, it was beautiful to have a space in my home that was dedicated and clear of clutter for me to actually put a demand on my creativity. And so when I first met you and we had, I think, a brief conversation about money spaces back then, I was like, oh, this is my kind of girl. Yes. So can you just talk about, your concept of money spaces and kind of the connection too between maybe healing our relationship in the work pillar, like when we create a space that allows us to thrive professionally as well?
There are 5 core elements to a money space, and the purpose of a money space is to set you up for success, to keep you connected to your goals, make sure you are clear in your thoughts and stay motivated in your space. There are different environmental inputs that can affect our mood and even our mindset. And so we want to create this space that supports all of that. Now, we look right away at your big whys. This is a very intense process. If you haven't done it as an entrepreneur or even as a career person, knowing why you're doing something, the purpose that's driving the train, can really give you the motivation daily to stay on track, to keep moving forward, even through disappointments and setbacks. And so if you can connect to your big why, which we all know it's not just that first surface, that first layer of the onion, you got to keep going deep. Why is that important? Why is that important? Why was that? Digging down to the core of the promises that you've made to yourself, the impact that a situation or interaction had on your psyche, of your overall personality. If we can get back to that and pull out a visual representation of that and put it in your line of sight throughout the day, that just keeps you connected and motivated throughout the day. So that's one of the first things we do in conjunction with setting your chair, your desk chair, in the power position. Now, as speakers, we know the power position is furthest away from the entry point to the room, centered where you can see everything that's going on around you, and you have a beautiful backdrop, right? So the power position and your why wall relate to one another. But then there's these other layers like color. Color has a psychological, physiological effect on humans. It's scientifically proven. You will never see a hospital or jails, prison with the color red, because it's very energetic. It raises our blood pressure. It gets people hyped up. It makes you hungry even. That's why you'll see restaurants using red a lot. So colors have this effect on our bodies, on our blood pressure and our heart rates. And so using the right colors in your money space can be advantageous. And then there's sound. Like, how do we use our senses to relate to the world? Are we tactile? Do we learn by doing, or do we learn by writing? That can hint at the fact that you're a tactile learner and you experience the world through the sense of touch. It can be visual texture too. So we're diving into designing into your senses and finding out how you experience the world and how we can manipulate that, how we can play with that so that your energy and your focus is kept through the day by using your environment. So a money space is just like that next refinement of becoming that next version of yourself. I think that any of us can, in a dire situation, crunch through. I mean, we've seen multi-million-dollar companies made from basements and garages. Okay, I get it. Money space is a luxury. But when you can remove resistance, when you can remove distractions, why not? That's the time to do it. And then, so that's the layer that you talked about initially, is clutter. Oh my gosh. We spend so much time looking for things that are misplaced, whether physical or even digital. So removing the clutter, having a space and a place for everything and everything in its place. That was something that as a mother, I honed in on and could tell even with our sons that when things were in order, they were calmer. They interacted with each other better. But when our house was in disarray, it was a madhouse, right? So I would not let it get to that point. And so, yes, clutter is a big, big no-no. If you can't start anywhere else, that's something that we can all do for free. It's to toss and donate and file, put things away in their place. There was just a week ago, we had this big windstorm here in Omaha, Nebraska, like 80-mile-per-hour winds. And I have this gazebo where we do our grilling out, and we have pillows where we can chill and sit down and talk. And the wind just knocked everything around. Now, it stayed that way a couple of days because we were taking care of cutting down trees and getting things back in order, physically, that needed to have attention right away. Anyway, a couple of days passed by. I'm walking past this gazebo. I'm like, I got to get to that. Because it just looks a mess. When I put it back in order, it's like the very same pieces, but in order instantly, like 5 minutes. It's a whole different vibe, a whole different feel. Like that piece is restored in that space. There's just something about clutter that visually tells us I'm overwhelmed. I can't take on another thing. I'm drowning. So when your desk is in disarray, regardless that you think you can find the thing that you're looking for, it's probably taking you 5 minutes to find it. So that's wasted time, which is money. But the subliminal messaging that we're giving ourselves, that I'm overwhelmed, is just detrimental to our emotional state of being and our productivity.
Yeah. Outside of money spaces, Nikki, how have you seen supporting people with their space? Because yes, I mean, you're an interior designer. Most of your clients, I mean, you create these luxurious spaces, which is beautiful. But how have you seen that actually heal marriages, relationships with children, other pieces? How does your space literally heal?
Literally, it creates the room for conversations. It creates the space that feels safe. When I think about the fact that so many of our clients are going through some transitional period in their life, I'm thinking of one client in specific now, and I've had many like her whose husband passed away over a year ago. And just the loss, the deep sadness, the feeling like, how can life go on without him, has taken a toll. And when I first walk in, she's very apologetic. The house is in disarray. It's not what she's proud of. It's not what she's used to. But this is the life she has now because of the grief and this trauma. We say this too, that your space represents you. It represents what's going on in your mind, in your body, in your heart. And if it's in disarray, your mind is probably in disarray. But it also has the reverse effect that if you can clean up your space, if you can create a space that feels safe and nurturing, that starts healing. That starts the healing process. And so that's where we are with her. We start demo in 5 weeks. I'm headed back out to California to help her. And we will be redoing her whole house with the intention of fulfilling the dreams that she and her husband had, but then setting herself up to have the rest of her life with her daughter in a way that honors him, where she's peaceful and stepping towards healing. And I work with coaches too that coach couples. And you think about a bedroom space, and I've been guilty of this, where you talked about the laundry in your money space. The laundry gets done on my bed, and then we're pushing laundry off the bed to have intimacy. That's not sexy. You know? We have a stack of bills on the nightstand. I can see that when we're in the middle of
Right.
And now I'm thinking about bills. That's
right.
not sexy either. So, I mean, literally how we surround ourselves, we're catching cues, you know? So let's put the bills away, put them in a drawer or in a filing cabinet where they get taken care of once a month or however your process or system works for bill pay. But don't have them right there on the nightstand, you know? So spaces create the container for healing. They don't do the healing work, obviously. The healing work comes from inside of us, but it allows for the healing to happen by creating safe spaces that feel safe, that feel intentional, that say you're welcomed here. And that carries through so many aspects of our lives, family gatherings, guests, family coming over and sleeping in the guest bedroom. How you set that guest bedroom up tells them whether or not you're excited for them to be there or not, you know?
Well, I know one thing I used to do in the guest bedroom. I'm not going to lie. I would not provide drawers because I didn't want people feeling like they could just, no, wait a minute. You here for the weekend, friend. This is a 1 week stay.
Right. You get this little section of the closet.
We had the closet was empty, but it's something about folding clothes and putting them in them drawers that have people saying, you know, I should stay for the month. It's like, well, wait a minute, friend. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let me share a powerful story with you. When Abraham Lincoln was facing one of the most crucial decisions of his presidency during the Civil War, he sought clarity through deep focus and reflection. He invited a friend of his, Leonard Swett, to sit with him for hours as he wrestled back and forth with the decision to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. It wasn't that Lincoln really needed Swett to make his decision. He simply needed someone he trusted and someone he believed was solid enough to hold space so he could concentrate and find absolute clarity within himself. Similarly, I believe that my purpose in this season is to hold space for brilliant women who know purpose has evolved, but they need a solid thinking partner to bring it all together. With my VIP private intensive mentorship day, you'll get to give yourself permission to immerse yourself in focused attention and guidance. Whether I come to your community or you join me here in Atlanta, we will spend an entire day mapping out the exact next steps you need to take to live out your purpose fully. With post-VIP day access to one-on-one support via the Redefining Wealth app, you'll have ongoing guidance and accountability. But space is limited, so if you're ready to scale joy and make this summer your most transformative season yet, I want you to apply now. Go to patricewashington.com/VIP. That's patricewashington.com/VIP, and let's see if we're a fit, because I believe your purpose is waiting and my purpose is to serve. Nikki, what about, there's a space that I think we don't always touch on, even when we're talking about healing. And the more I'm working with people one-on-one in this season, for women in particular, because that's predominantly my audience, and women of a certain age, healing our relationships with our bodies. What do you think about that kitchen space even? We think about it as the gathering place for people to come together, but I think there's also something just in general about how that space could potentially be set up, or the closet, and how that connects to how we feel about our bodies. You have any thoughts around that?
I do. Actually, I just gave a tip about having 4 different pant sizes in my closet. Because the fact is, these are nice clothing that I invested in throughout my sizes, throughout the 16s to the 10s. And I have a system of organizing my pants and my clothing in a way that I know where to look. So I'm not taking off, 4 different white pair of pants when I'm looking for the right size or the right pants leg. So I have a way of organizing my pants and my clothing so that I know where the size I'm looking for is likely to be. And it's not as frustrating because I'm keeping all 4 sizes. I know I need to give some away eventually, but let me stay this size longer, and then I'll start giving some of those 16s away. But I feel like so much of it comes with age. We get to a point where we realize that doesn't matter as much as we made it. Like, yes, we want to be healthy. We want to be whole. We want to be fit even, but just putting so much weight, no pun intended, so much gravity on what our size is and what we look like. But how can space heal that? I think that making it a beautiful space. So my closet now looks like a boutique. So investing in it, saying this is important. I care about how I show up for people. I care how I show up for myself. And I want a beautiful space. I'm a beautiful woman in all my sizes.
Oh, that's it right there, though. I'm a beautiful woman in all my sizes.
Yes.
Not demonizing the size. And I do realize that for many of us, as our hormones change, and,
yes,
a lot of it is definitely health related. It's so frustrating because I don't know about you, but I find myself going towards I remember when, I remember when people were like, oh, you won't always be a 4. And I was like, lady, child, right? I didn't even have to try hard. I could think about losing 5 pounds to get in a dress and it would happen. And then in COVID, Nikki, I got my grown woman body. I said, well, whose body is this? I don't even know her. Where did these breasts come from, child? Where did this butt come from? I just did not have all this body. When you met me, I did not have all this body.
Right.
And making peace with that has been a really interesting journey. And for me, even in organizing my kitchen to be more supportive of helping me get to the things that I say I prioritize, like, my supplements or my protein shakes and all this stuff. When I moved from the kitchen that I fully designed at my marital home into the townhome, I saw very quickly that not having it organized, Reagan's snacks were front and center and they became our snacks. And I'm like, child, you can't snack like Reagan. This is not your ministry. You're a woman of a different age here. Like, you can't snack like her.
Right.
But everything was just kind of like in disarray. And there was something very healing and supportive of my personal goals and interests in this season when I allowed my kitchen to support me, like putting the things that would nurture where I say I want to be in this season up front and center so I could see it, so I could choose those things first. That was a big step for us coming when we moved to the townhome, because baby, I was on a path. I was on a path.
Exactly. And I love how interior design or decorating or decor supports that effort of staying organized and, prioritizing the healthy foods when you put them in the cute little containers and they're all nicely lined up and pretty labels. We want to keep it that way, right? It makes it easier to keep that way when it looks nice.
Yeah. Oh, so good, Nikki. So what's next for you in this season?
So it's pacing out the show, releasing this deadline, the self-imposed deadline of when it's happening. We released our pilot. It's gotten great reviews. And so we're continually putting up content around that pilot, design tips on our YouTube channel, on the Move with Nikki Klugh, related to the house that we did reveal during that first episode. And of course, we're taking design clients and business as usual in that arena. And we'll see. We'll see if the show gets picked up, or when the show gets picked up for a second season, what network that will be on, what that will look like. In the meantime, I'm spending the summer with my mother. She's here with me, escaping the Houston heat and humidity. And she's here in Omaha with me. So we've been having a grand time, just knowing how special this time is with her, because, it's not guaranteed. And what a blessing that my schedule allows for it. And again, trusting God's timing, trusting myself, and it's just really, really enjoying life in a way that I have not done. I don't know, in my whole life. Like, there's always been some sense of overwhelm and striving or pushing. But right now I really am in flow and it feels good.
I love that for you. I love that for you. You're such an incredible person, inside and out. I love being your Facebook friend. I love your vulnerability. I know there's been a few times you're like, well, now, was this too far? Listen to this and tell me what you think throughout the years. But I love your vulnerability. I love how open you are to sharing the journey, the ups and the downs. You share the triumphs and you also share the trials. I love that, recently you sent me the video, the live, and I went back and watched it. Girl, yeah, I was like, oh, this is so good. I was on the treadmill like, I know the people next to me were like, what is she watching? But, I really appreciate you sharing sometimes the messy middle. And that's what, even prompted me to start with this dream and the being in that season of allowing this dream to come to the forefront in this season. I just enjoy you so much, friend. And I'm so proud of you. When I watched the premiere of On the Move with Nikki Klugh, girl, I was texting everybody. I was like, have you seen this? Have you seen Nikki? Do you know Nikki? Look at this show, right? And I just believe that God is going to honor the desires of your heart. I don't believe it's if. I just think it's a matter of when. And I believe that even those of us who are not in the design space, just being privy to the journey and how you are navigating it and giving yourself grace and permission and forgiving the times that you may have felt like you betrayed yourself, to now be someone who's fully invested in the vision that God gave you. It's inspiring. I think I told you this. It's encouraging. It is so, I don't know. I feel like crying. It like, I am so encouraged by you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so encouraged by you. You just represent to me, you raised your kids, they're all grown now, and watching how your design business is just expanded and evolved over the years, and how through it all, again, ups and downs, size 10, size 16, back to a 12, back, like whatever it is, Nikki, you just keep going, and it is encouraging. And even if folks don't always say it, it is a blessing to be able to watch. So,
and likewise, lady, I applaud you for your courage, because being in the spotlight and going through such a difficult, challenging time and making really hard decisions when, again, the choices, neither one is good, but you've got to do the one that is going to work for your life and for your daughter. And so I applaud you. And especially as women of faith, it's just, gosh, the church can fill us with so much shame, and it shouldn't be that way. But I appreciate you and I applaud you for the courage to say, this is not a shameful situation. I have no, nothing to be ashamed of in this. This is what God even is happy about for me. And mind your business.
And also that part. Oh, Nikki, I appreciate you so much. You guys, we're going to link to all things Nikki Klugh, especially her YouTube channel and how you can get in touch with her for design services in the show notes. And listen, this entire month is just about making the space to heal. And no matter what you feel like you desire to heal in this season, I guarantee you that there is a physical space in your environment that you can connect to that healing. It is oftentimes one of the simpler, cheaper, easier things for us to do is at least take a look at that environment that represents that part of your life you want to heal and just take the next best step. It's not about perfection. It's sloppy progress. It's what is the 1.0 version of what I have the capacity to do, because I'm ready to move on and dream a new dream in this area of my life. And so all this month, we're talking about making the space to heal. Come on into the Redefining Wealth app. I'm going to be sharing more tips, and I might let y'all see some of the training that Nikki did about money spaces. Let me see how y'all behave this month. I might do a little sample, a little snippet of that training that Nikki blessed us with in the Redefining Wealth app, because I do truly believe that space pillar is one of the 6 pillars of wealth that people often just skip over. We want to just run straight to the money stuff. We want to talk about people, but your space is the thing that creates, as Nikki said, the container for your healing. So let's dive into that more this month. And I do pray that it's a blessing to you in advance. Until next time, you guys, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever feeling like you have to chase money. And we'll talk to you later.